Now the latest on May 29th around the wide world of tropics. Here's your tropical weather bulletin. The tropics are quiet today with no named storms active around the world. You're probably sick of hearing me say that by now. It is May the 29th. Hurricane season in the Atlantic is just upon us in a few more days. In the Eastern Pacific it's already underway, where we do have one invest active. In the Atlantic, as mentioned, no storms active. The next name is Barry. Andrea already happened. June the 1st is the start of the season. A 10% chance in the next 5 days for Invest 91E. There is another system further towards its west that has a 20% chance in the next 5 days, but it's not yet been designated. No systems active in the Western Pacific or the North Indian Ocean, and the Southern Hemisphere is also quiet. The 2018-19 season will start to be visualized in our animations at the end of this week. Invest 91E is currently located just off the coast of Nicaragua in Central America, 30-mile-an-hour winds. It's 205 miles from the capital, Managua, 11 degrees north, 89 degrees west, a rough estimate. Over the next few days, this weak system that's been keeping us guessing for a very long time now is expected to push inland over Honduras and eventually towards the Yucatan Peninsula. That is still speculative though, it could shift west or east. What it is looking like though is that this system will not become anything of note, and that whatever forms towards the west of Invest 91E has a better chance of becoming a tropical cyclone, and indeed that is what some of the models are now predicting, most notably the GFS. Wind shear is low to moderate, 10 to 15 knots, but as you can see, struggling to get any circulation going, and the convection would normally follow, but it's really struggling there. In the Atlantic, there's a lot of disturbed weather in the Caribbean, heading up towards Cuba, Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and eventually pushing off towards the northeast. But really, nothing really getting organised over there like what we may have thought might have happened on earlier model runs. That was the chance by the looks of things, at least for the time being. Gulf of Mexico, pretty quiet. Eastern Pacific looks like this out in the open ocean, very quiet across the board there. Weak systems there towards the equator, but really very little going on at all. Hawaii, fairly quiet, light cloud cover over the islands there. In the Western Pacific, things looking equally quiet really, just a few blots of convection there, especially in the Philippine Sea. Looking over towards the Philippines, the South China Sea starting to warm up a little bit there with some thunderstorms, mainly out at sea, land areas not really being affected. The Australia and South Pacific region is pretty quiet at this time. Of course, you can follow all the Australian updates on Force 13 AU, our local channel. In the Indian Ocean, there's some significant flare-ups going on there near India, not out of the ordinary, but some significant thunderstorms by the looks of things in southern India and to the south of India. Sea surface temperatures are pretty warm in the Eastern Pacific, but you do notice that where Invest 91E is, there is a little bit of a cooler pocket there now, 26 degrees only by the looks of things, 28 actually, but still decreasing upon what it was earlier. 30 degrees will be the high. The Caribbean's remaining fairly warm. The North Indian Ocean there, 30 degrees, maybe even higher than that in both sub-basins. And in the Western Pacific, South China Sea is very warm in case we do get an early system there. Wouldn't be so early now actually, towards the end of May. June storms are pretty common in that region and also in the Philippine Sea. Invest 91E looks like this, another look at the close-up, infrared and visible all in one combo there. You can see again the circulation is probably the weakest we've really seen it, at least since the formation of this system, so really struggling with that, and it could lose its invest status again very soon. So Andrea, the only named storm in the Atlantic so far. We haven't had one yet in the Eastern Pacific, and might be worried about it a late start here perhaps. They usually start pretty early in the Eastern Pacific, nothing yet in the Central Pacific either this year. The next name in the Western Pacific is Sipat, and in the North Indian Ocean it's Vayu. You can visit Force 13's outlets, the website force13.com. You can also find our YouTube page if you're not there already. Subscribe if you haven't so far, search Force 13, and it's Force 13 on Facebook and at Force 13 on Twitter if you'd like to get in touch on any of those platforms. The next name in Australia is Blake, and the next name in the Fiji region is Rita. We'll have another update for you tomorrow. You can also help the project become even better by becoming a patron. You can see more information about all the benefits involved by visiting patreon.com/Force13. You can also contact me on Discord. It's Fool13 at extension 9094 and Force13 on Skype. You can also find our server link to our Discord server for tropical weather chat in our description.